Who are you?
We're Tessie Brewing. I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave.
I am Tessie's dad.
He's also my
I'm also head brewer of Tessie Brewing and original founder.
CEO of sorts.
And CEO of sorts, president, whatever you want to say. More, we don't really use those terms. But
HDIC.
Thank you.
that's me.
Cool. I'm Tim. I'm Dave's cousin. So David started this up. I was also brewing on the side as well, and obviously knew you guys from BSC.
Yes.
And we started up this little venture together.
That does remind me, I actually still have one of your glass bottles in my car.
It's
We can get it today. We can get it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
He's returning it. That's the important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want my 5 cents.
So I'm Matt. I went to high school with Dave, and as a result, wound up meeting Tim. I brewed for a long time. I worked in the industry for about 7 years before bailing on the industry to go work in big business elsewhere, and then am following into this again with them. So that's where I
Awesome.
this. Yeah.
So you guys have just started, at least from what I, the very little bit I know. Have you guys have just started? Are you already full entity? Do you have your own places? What's going on?
We are just starting off, kind of testing the waters of, are we going to work together great? And also, we're trying to share our beer for free because since we're not an entity and don't have liquor licenses, we cannot sell, take money, anything for our beer. But I've been brewing for 15 years now.
Awesome.
And
Holy shit.
now, because Matt was in the industry,
Yeah.
he gave me a bunch of his gear that he was no longer using. And so I've upgraded all of my brewery gear to close to nano-brewery professional. But it's still just a home brewery.
It's just a
It's
complex
not
home
an-
brewery.
Yeah, it's a complex home brewery, but it's not a professional.
Would you say you're the Walter White of brewing beer? That'd be a good comparison.
That's a big.
Minus the illegal activities.
That we know.
Minus them?
Yeah.
Yes, we have to.
Yeah.
Define illegal.
Well, it's more. I got into brewing when I turned 21, just because of I would drink other beer and stuff like that, but I started to like my own beer, and I would constantly brew and have friends who lived with me, and constantly my beer would be disappearing because of it. So that worked great, and then I stopped for a little while just because moving around, and then now that I have my own house, restarted, and Tim got into it, and Matt was in it, and we just one day just decided, we brought it up when we were all hanging out, and now we're here. We're doing our first podcast for our home brewery.
And only
Hell
the
yeah.
first few batches killed anybody. We've worked out all of those kids.
Right.
We don't have that problem. That's awesome.
Hence the
You're no longer
illegal.
No, it was legal.
Yeah.
We disposed of bodies properly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, as long as you don't no illegal body.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's safe, no dumping. Like.
So this is the first series or anything you're being featured on?
Yep.
Oh man, we feel super honored.
You guys are the
Hell yeah.
That's
first people
awesome.
to have us, and like we're on Instagram, Facebook.
Yep.
I just am getting Twitter set up, so we have that, and we're on Untapped, so people try
He loves
our
Untapped.
Love that. Yeah.
everything we brewed is on Untapped right now. Even the hibiscus beer that's on there already. I give out to friends and other beer people that I know, and I tell them every time, here's a growler. Read it.
Yeah.
Be honest. Don't
Dude,
tell
that's
me.
really smart though. That's awesome.
So,
Which we've learned means glass, which I did not know until about 2 weeks ago.
Same.
Oh yeah. We learned that was a.
I thought it was the size. I thought the size was it, but I
Growler
figured it was.
Prowler did not know until I asked him in an idiot.
But that's a good segue into what we'll be testing
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah.
what do we got?
We got some coolers.
we have some lovely
Other cups you get
we,
there.
clear cups that were purchased this morning, and there's only 12 because that's all they had.
You guys
Only
could
12 to 6 of us. That works out.
Yeah.
We test each other.
exactly. Yeah.
We
Wait,
have
you
some
guys,
duct tape.
you guys could step up and get some solo cups. Come on, man.
Knock off Dollar General cups.
I have solo cups at home, but I wanted to use clear cups.
Yes.
because
Love it.
You can see the color.
They work
Yeah.
out much better.
Making sure all the margin goes into our beer. We're
Yeah.
not wasting on
Dude, I heard that.
frivolities.
I heard that. Like,
Just
oh wow!
being
Whoa, whoa! This looks cool.
So these are actually called Boston Growlers.
Boston Growlers.
They don't have handles. I discovered that when I
Cool,
purchased
yeah.
them. That said Boston Growler. I was like, oh.
Somebody found a chemistry lab or something.
Yeah.
And we have, these are our first set of tags that are actually recycled cardboard, but we're gonna search around for more dog tags via the Tessie.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
So-
yeah.
So this is my
Yeah, come here.
Beach Day Lime Pilsner, which crank these on because I don't want any
We're not on
leakage.
film or anything. We're not. There's no pressure. We can try to get this undone.
Yeah.
Nobody wants leakage.
This is why kettlebell training is essential.
couple
So
of
you build your
strong
grip
guys,
straight.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
definitely
just
just
Sam, but he did 180 snatches 10 minutes
Yeah,
ago.
his hands are pretty.
you don't want
Yeah.
loss of
Yeah.
carbonation.
Right.
I'm hoping
It's really the only opinion that matters here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nano's already your biggest fan.
That's lighter than I was expecting it for some reason.
Nano.
So-
Ooh.
It is a Pilsner malt that is then
Am I having a stroke or does
During-
it also smell fruity? Also smell fruity.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I'm waiting to see.
during during the boil, I put agave syrup in it.
Seriously, during the boil, what do you mean?
So during the boil, so basically you take the grain, you mash it, which is actually just. I'm getting nothing. What, you want one too?
That's illegal.
I don't think puppy dog is
That is
supposed to have
actually-
beer.
No, no, She's your
So-
biggest fan, man.
So mashing in is we take the grain, mill it to basically just crush it a little bit,
Mhm.
and then you heat up water to a certain temperature. It could be 145 degrees, it could be 170 degrees, and you put that in there and mix it up, cover it, and leave it for like an hour.
Mhm.
That soaks it all in. Then you take that liquid, drain it out into your boiling pot. Then you're going to run more water through it all constantly, just to get more of the sugars out. And then from there, you go to your boil, which is full boiling of the wort, which is what it's called now once it goes through the mash. And then becomes, you put in your flavors or hops at certain times, and then you chill it down to whatever temperature your yeast wants to activate at, which is usually like 68 degrees. And then it goes in the fermenter, gets sealed, yeast gets added, and sometimes we add more things to it. Like this, the lime got added after a week of fermentation. So that's why lime doesn't really react well with yeast, is the acid. But this was done 2 months ago, I think they did this one.
Okay. So you said this was a Pilsner?
It's a Pilsner, but it's a very strong Pilsner. It's actually 7.2 ABV.
I would not have guessed that.
No.
It does.
All right.
It does
I
not.
don't got to drive anywhere.
It's a great beach beer because it's really strong. And I
This is
basically just-
7.2. This tastes like a lawnmower beer. This is
That's
scary.
insane. Yeah.
Dangerous.
I like the one that's.
We were just talking about lawnmower beers earlier.
Well, like a good lawnmower.
Yeah, maybe don't hop on the lawnmower after a few of these.
No, dirty. That way, like, we get
Maybe-
off. Like,
Maybe
it
don't
becomes
have,
a race. Like
don't
a
have
race.
Tim on your lawnmower. Trust
No,
me.
you don't want me.
Why?
Somehow,
Their story?
yeah, somehow
Why?
he dropped the blade all the way to 1.
Ah.
Luckily, I saw it, and he only did 10 feet.
Yeah, this is 10 feet of putting green.
Yeah. It was
Fine.
Like
Cutting
everything
green
else.
is generous. Yeah. Just dirt.
It's a solid 10 feet, though. Yeah.
Love
This
that.
is really good. You said you put agave in here as well.
agave syrup gets put into it. I actually made this 2 years ago, but instead of using actual grains, I used dry malt extract syrup, which is
Right.
cheaper, easier, quicker. You don't do the mash cycle on it, which that actually changed profile of the beer. So this is actually a totally different beer than my original one, but I'm trying to do all grain.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Oh yeah, cheers to you
I'm
guys.
sorry,
Cheers to the
that's quick on my.
Cheers to new friends, new beers. And Tim Gardner.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
No, it's not.
You
Well,
never
I still love it.
I hire
I
a
still
guy.
love
I'm all set.
I'm usually happy when he
Sorry,
comes
I'm the
over
same.
because he likes, like, in the fall, he'll use the rake instead of the blower, and I'm like, rake away.
I have no problem being Dave's beer assistant. I'm very adept at opening up the bottles and delivering to him while he does the work. It's a perfect setup.
Or Tim is the one that actually plays with Tessie
That
while I'm doing it.
Dude, that's a very important job.
How much is that pay? I'll take it.
Yeah.
You have to pay me.
Oh. Fair.
Side business, eh?
Yeah.
She's got a sweet face though, so I might take you on that deal.
So what do you so who, I don't even know who Tessie is. I know. I mean, I picked up it's her dog.
Yeah. So Tessie is a rescue bulldog mix from Tennessee, who we got 4 years ago. The backstory of it is we actually got Tessie and her sister Willow, and as a puppy, within a month of having them, they dug holes. One night, Tessie jumped, broke her back leg in the hole.
Oh.
Tessie was actually the dominant one, and Willow saw her opportunity and attacked her. So Willow now actually lives with my parents, which is wonderful, but we can't reintroduce them to each other
No.
Yeah.
because we discovered that's why they call female dogs, which is they for cats. And so we tried twice. Tessie, being stronger again, went after Willow, and I
Sure.
picked him up, got myself torn up.
Yeah.
And
What kind of
so
dog is Tessie again? Sorry.
she's a bulldog mix, so she's got like
Oh, so
a couple other things in her, but she looks more like a bulldog.
Yeah.
Her sister, they have cattle dog in it too. Her sister looks more like a cattle dog.
Got it.
So it's like you can't really tell they're sisters.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
What is Willow? I'm sorry if I missed that.
Willow is her sister who's living at my parents' house now, and she's a great dog too. It's just because of this, Tess doesn't like to leave the yard. She does not like other dogs.
I'm okay.
And that's basically the backstory of
Here,
Tess.
I'll have the rest.
I was like, okay.
No.
Thank you so much.
So that's the backstory on this. So this one is actually Beach Day,
Oh, so this is a different one.
but it's the
Love
same,
the names.
it's the same beer. This one actually, I took 3 gallons of it and oak aged it for a week.
I haven't had this one yet.
So,
This is.
but so it totally
It's not
changes the taste,
Wow.
the
Yeah.
smell, everything about this totally changed.
Oh,
It has like an oaky
it's the
coconut
same
smell.
beer.
Same beer.
Yeah, I got which I like.
So
Yeah.
it totally changes everything. So same ABV, but it's
Same ABV.
We're in trouble then.
Oh, that is completely different. You definitely got to go out of that.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to reach across.
Cheers, that
Right. Oh, we can do it.
I do that.
Yeah.
It depends how many I've had when I'm doing this.
Oh, I understand.
Going or making the tags, I write them down and then I look and I go, oh wait.
Yeah, once we get going, we're gonna get Dave off of handwriting.
Yeah, my handwriting,
It's a nice touch
just
though. You know, it's more
my
authentic.
spelling, my grammar, everything. Anytime I post something, I actually have to
Go back.
send it to these two, or I just send it to my wife. And I go,
That's why we have that.
I'm like, here you go. I was like, what do you think? And she's like, and you had Tessie Brewing. She's like, you need to do this and add all these hashtags. I'm like, all right.
Here we go.
But we're actually going to, Tim's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is actually offered to do all of my online stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
so
it's
It takes a lot of time.
You guys
I
are
don't blame
sweet.
you.
Yeah.
Quite a
So we have that. I actually do own the domains for TessieBrewing.com
Oh, great.
and Tessie-Brewing.com. I bought both a couple months ago.
Yep.
And it's on autopay, everything. The website was up for 5 minutes. and then disappeared. But I can still access my account, so you can't actually view the website. The only person that saw it was Matt.
I had the best minutes of my life.
I guess you can vouch for it.
I wept
nice?
openly.
It was nice. It was too beautiful
Yeah,
for a website.
it's too beautiful.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
say whatever you want.
Yeah.
No one else
Yeah,
nobody's
yeah.
ever seen it.
You're gonna
You'll
have
just
to
have to
find
believe
it.
me it's there.
Yeah.
And just search it every morning until it's back up.
It's basically a giant picture, just like the sticker of Tessie.
Yeah, so that's all.
Perfect.
That's worth the
Yeah.
reservation.
That's
it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So are you and Matt both like brewers? Like, are you the brewers of Tessie?
I'm the head brewer. Matt,
All right.
Matt more through working in the industry, his consultant knowledge. He's a giant book of knowledge.
You just tell him, so he just.
I just-
where
I just, if I have a question, or even if I think I have it right, I send it to him.
Nice.
Or I send it to both of them, but usually Matt's the one that first goes, yeah, this. And I go, that's what I thought. And then he always texts me back, yeah, I kind of knew you'd do that.
Sure.
That's
But it's
But-
nice.
Sounds
but
like a
we
great
always-
consultant job.
We always double and triple check everything.
You need that though. Man.
Yeah.
It's important to have a team. in place.
Ingredients, equipment, grammar,
It's very
The
important.
big one.
and anything on those aspects. I search around for everything and then I double check with both of them to find out.
Yeah.
Is this like, do we want to do this? Is this worth it?
Sure.
Because right now we're at the stage last week had our own little meeting. We go fishing, have a meeting, and usually I bring whatever new beer is on the
Oh,
line.
sounds like a hell of a beer.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Like, go. If you don't have to go fishing, just bring the beer.
Yeah.
So
So that's where Matt comes in. And then
that's
Tim.
a good segue. I was about to start asking questions. But and Tim, I interrupted you.
sorry.
What is Tim?
But-
He cuts the grass.
Yeah.
Not very well.
He's
learning
his one of his new job descriptions is going to be keep Tess away from the brew process because Tessie loves playing ball the entire time I'm brewing, and then garden hoses are her kryptonite, and she will attack water. So
Seen that
One of those
before.
where, like when you point the garden hose at it, it's just like at the water.
it's
Oh, yeah.
that, or if you turn your back on her, or like I had a batch of beer, I went inside, it was chilling. There's a giant coil, and the hose basically runs through that to cool the beer down before it goes to the fermenter.
Yeah.
She grabbed the hose and dumped the whole 5-gallon
Ooh.
barrel over on me.
on
Luckily,
you.
no, like on my yard, like,
Oh, Jesus.
in the yard, and
Your yard hasn't even seen.
You're
Yeah,
good.
Tim cut
yeah, my yard gets a lot of
Database.
abuse.
Yeah.
Though beer is really good for grass apparently because that area grows great.
Well, there-
Oh, good.
That 5-gallon
So-
damage went knocked over.
But-
We almost had to find a new mascot for the brewery.
Yeah, that.
Oh,
that-
really?
luckily, that was not a very expensive 5-gallon batch. That was a ginger beer ale that I made. And I proceeded to then call my vendor to get another group of supplies and then brew it again next weekend, and did not take my eyes off Tessie.
Yeah,
Yeah, now you know. It's
I
a
know.
learning experience.
Tim's job
Almost
seems
so
so
much
much more
new
important.
brewery after that.
Seriously.
Yeah, after that,
So-
your job seems
So now most of the equipment is higher up, and all the water runs through a fenced-in area and out into the fenced-in area, so she cannot.
Yeah, so in a way, she kind of runs the brewery in a way.
Pretty much.
She's
It makes sense now that
Yeah.
she's named after it.
She's helped
Wow.
you guys adapt
Wow.
and learn.
Yeah, it's that. She's the mascot because she's my dog, and it worked out great. And everybody loves her picture. Also,
yes.
being in Boston, Tessie. So,
Yeah, that fits.
Red
Yeah.
Sox and everything else. It
Oh, yeah.
fits great.
We're gonna get baseball in this after we finish talking about because well, Pats, Red Sox. I don't know how you became a Yankee,
It's
but like we're
What? How
I,
did I not know this about you?
we're cutting this out.
Yeah.
no, we are not.
I usually make sure to deny he's my cousin when he is wearing anything Yankees.
Oh yeah,
Not
I,
just that either.
I would. Yeah, so like I didn't know.
Quite a regular
Well,
occurrence.
so I want to ask you about I want to get a sentence out. I want to ask you about like your experience.
Oh, yeah.
in brewing. But I didn't know you were a Yankee fan until the London series.
Oh yeah, when I showed up and was wearing the
Yeah,
jeans
I was
jersey.
like, Tim,
Well, that'll do it.
because we ran into each other in London at the London series, and that was a lot of fun.
Really?
Yeah, but not for. I mean, at the end of the weekend, it wasn't that fun for the Red Sox.
I was gonna say they got.
yes and no. Like we scored 22 runs, but they just happened to score 29
Yeah, well, still.
in 2 games, which is a lot.
Yeah.
What do we got
So
next?
yes, we got. I don't want to. But yeah. So what do we have next?
So this is my Cranberry Ale,
Ooh.
which I made. It was a while ago I made this.
I'm not sure.
So it's actually the cranberries that I used in it. I cooked down, and they actually were harvested by my parents as a Christmas present to my mom
Oh,
from my dad. They love doing outdoors fun stuff like that and gardening and everything else. So my dad went, you know what? Found a place. Go pick cranberries. So they picked 50 pounds, I think, of cranberries is what they brought home.
That takes that has to take.
that's a lot of cranberries.
So and doing it the old school style with the rake and everything
Yeah.
else.
Oh yeah.
It's like a whole day type thing. But then she was like, well, you want them? Some of them? How much do you need for beer? And I was like, I don't know, like 5 pounds. She gives me 20 pounds. So I'm like, well, I'm definitely making a beer, which I think I ended up using 10 pounds.
Oh, there you go.
And then
The rest.
the rest is actually cranberry sauce.
That's awesome.
Because
We don't have to. Yeah.
every once in a while we'll actually
Shaped as a can, I assume.
yeah.
Thanksgiving is lit for the next 5 years.
Oh my god, they're gonna be better.
You just pop the top off the tall board and
Yes.
throw it out.
Oh my god, that'd be so much better. Okay, no, we
I missed that
we're gonna mix that one up. That's a top grade idea. So you know Thanksgiving, cranberry sauce. Like if it's not shaped like a can, I want nothing to do with it. Yeah, do it like tall. Thank you.
Okay. Be cool.
Yeah. So you just like grandma's like, what's that? It's like it's nothing. It's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
So this one's more just like a basic tart cranberry. Like the cranberry adds tartness to it. Oops. It's just a basic.
That is really good.
Yeah. Everything's been very seasoned.
It's
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
These are some of my favorites that we've had, like beer. I'm like, I like it. And it's not because we've had mostly IPAs.
and this is a lighter 4.8.
Oh, just base vodka.
So it's a
It's a day drinking beer.
it's a day drink.
Yes. Well, I mean, everything's a day drinking beer if you drink it afternoon. You know,
Well, it's afternoon somewhere.
it's true. I mean, I don't have.
It's, I was gonna say.
We're adults,
Well, it's like 11 something here, but it's noon like it's somewhere in the Atlantic.
Yeah, it's
Time's relative anyway. And we're adults. Yeah, so Matt, you were in the brewing industry for 15 years?
Yeah. No, I worked at a place in Marlborough that started as a giant homebrew shop, and then became a brewery. They had a 7-barrel setup, and that was a long time of brewing, and just, I mean, anything you can imagine. Just a great adventure there.
What was it called? Did it have a name? Or?
I did, yeah. No, it's called Strange Brew.
I like that.
Yeah, unfortunately ceased to exist, but it was that was a really good spot. I started as a guy who worked in the back and became general manager.
Oh, really?
And kind of ran the show there for
Yes.
a while. So
That's awesome.
that was cool. And then I left and went into business
Wear a
instead. So
tie.
yeah, and initially it was tie, and now it's definitely back to shorts and hair. So yeah.
We have the same. I'm sure you. I mean, at least I don't want to speak for you guys, but we kind of have like the same feeling sometimes. You like, when you're in time for the time in the industry now. I don't want to also put words in mouth, but like you're like, I kind of want something a little bit more stable sometimes. There's like, yeah, cool, and then you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? And then we go to pick out our sweatpants for the day. You have like a real job. Like,
It's-
For your fancy.
It's one of those things too. Like
I
I
wear
love
Lululemon every now and then.
it got to the point for me where like I loved being in the industry, but I liked the business side of the industry more.
it's so
Yeah, and I took a shot in the dark and went big. And went to go work for a gigantic business school in the city.
yeah.
That I don't know if I can legally name on the podcast. I don't know how that works.
Cool.
But,
We have like 12 months.
all right, so yeah, no, I went to work for Harvard Business School and hung out with them for a while, and that was neat. And then it was like, well,
really cool.
it was cool, but then I got kind of not so thrilled with the idea of having to wear a shirt and tie every day, so I
Yeah.
went to Google instead.
It's just like
yeah.
You went to Google?
Yeah, and so that's
Yeah.
where I am now.
I'm just,
That's what I'm
you know,
saying.
I'm I went to Harvard, then I went to Google.
Yeah.
I'm a genius. I don't know if I mentioned
So,
that.
so I,
He
yeah,
didn't tell you that he was the janitor of both
I
places.
and I see numbers and figure out math problems.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what I'm saying.
so yeah,
This is a target.
I do that, but I still miss like the bio and chem side, and that's really how I got into brewing in the first place. is
Yeah.
I'm a bio and chem nerd, and Like,
I feel like you kind of have to.
right? Yeah, totally. And I'm on some level like a bit of a clean freak, which is like a huge component of
That's great.
brewing too.
Which
so like,
actually, both of them are giant clean freaks.
Yeah.
So ours are great. Like, I know how to like sanity, clean, everything else. Like, I do it properly every time. But I know having both of them on it,
It's double it.
they're gonna triple check me on anything I do
That's
to make
perfect.
sure right chemicals,
Oh, yeah.
everything's torn apart.
OSHA's watching this. Just punching it.
yeah.
It's pumped.
Yeah.
I wear non-slip shoes in the shower. Like
with
OSHA and I were
with a non-slip
non-slip mat on the floor.
And the non-slip
And-
shoes.
I temp check the water 10 times while I'm showering.
He
No
has
time
just
for
to stay
accidents.
fresh. He actually he has that special chair in there too.
Yep, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. Handle to get out. Like,
Shower on the wand. Like I have no time for accidents.
You don't have to do it. Oh man, that is safe.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
That one. Especially when the beers are coming out at 7.5 a set, you kind of need that sit in the shower.
Yeah,
It's funny because like kind of in that same vein, like my girlfriend will actively poke fun at me because she'll say like you're such a rule follower, and like sometimes I'm like I'm not really a rule follower, but then like the other day we were out for a walk and she was like she was going to cross the road, and I was like look there's a crosswalk right over there, like if we just walk another 50 feet we can walk across the crosswalk. She's like you're such a rule follower, and I'm like you know what, I'm just not going to get hit by a car today, like and that's not going to stop me from getting hit by a car. It's like logically I feel safer using a crosswalk because I am a rule follower. I'm a clean person,
that makes
and
sense.
like I just I don't know.
To be fair though, that's what drivers expect.
Right? That's
There's
exactly
so
it,
that's you know that's there's
And-
some truth to that.
And in honesty, like I expect them to be texting while driving, so I figure at least like
fair.
we're
Dude,
doing our
fair.
part. Like I'm in the crosswalk. That's the only time I expect them to be paying attention. Is
Yeah.
the crosswalk. That's it. What the heck you want from that? Like,
Yeah,
in the
seriously.
crosswalk.
I
But
do have theories. Where did you grow up?
me?
Yeah.
I grew up in Holliston, which is
Down away from the city.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
people use crosswalks.
yeah. We
I grew up like 2 miles that way.
That intersection down there, people just darting out left and right.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
find it.
and so now like I live
And you have
south,
to like have the same thought process of like,
right? And that's the thing. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. I'm like, hello, commuter. I see that you're driving an automobile. I'm a pedestrian. I'm going to use a crosswalk, and you're going to honor the rules of traffic. Now I live south of the city, and I'm just expecting, like, I'm going to use a
South of the city?
crosswalk, but at least they're going to be able to find my body. Like, it's just how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, South Shore drivers. There's something, right, Derek?
Oh yeah.
Me and our manager Derek go back and forth on north south because he refuses to live above. Yeah, that's right. So Derek, our manager, refuses to live north of the city because he's a South Shore kid, a South Shore dude, and I refuse to live south of the city because I mean I live 2 miles that way.
Unpopular opinion, I'm with Derek on this one. I won't live north of the city.
It's fine. Yeah,
It's closer to the Cape, closer to the real ocean. None of this base stuff.
I was
Real
gonna
ocean.
say,
It's true. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. True on that one. Y'all just smell funny. It's fine.
Oh, we do.
So-
Totally.
It's fine. We'll keep that in my team.
Sorry, I just don't live in this.
We got Massasoit.
They should be amazed. I got into this.
This is quite an accomplishment.
Which was
to
more
get
so
to.
drove to Quincy to ride with him. Then missed the exit, so we had to drive through Boston to get back on 90.
He wanted
How
to
was
see
that
that.
traffic?
Not terrible. Not bad. Pretty good. 24 minutes door to door.
Okay, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I was
Was
gonna
it
say-
COVID driving? That's different.
Could be.
Oh.
Yeah.
If we took the red line, it would have been even faster, though. That's COVID transit nowadays.
Oh yeah, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in Quincy like for about 2 months. That's all I could do. And I would leave. So I'm working at the gym. I was in my car, being like, I'm avoiding traffic. I don't have anyone until 8 a.m. I am getting on the highway at 6. Still traffic. I was at the point where like, I
Yeah.
swear to God, someone better be dead. Why am I in traffic right
Yeah.
now? Yeah, notice that one and like, yeah, no, we're just gonna go back on here. So is this the 4th one? 3rd one?
I
don't know.
Fourth one.
Fourth.
I didn't even.
I was gonna say-
I should have ate after
You
I
don't need
worked
to
out.
count. It's okay.
I
I see your
brought,
number.
I brought
I'm not
five.
driving.
So.
So ultimately,
Get to that point right now, I'm wondering, like,
what's the goal as far as like obviously you're at home right now?
Okay,
Like as far as expansion, but, like how big of a place would you kind of want if that's the goal, or just what do you want to do?
So our goal is, our ultimate goal right now, after we've figured everything out, made sure we're good at doing this and ready to do this, is to actually stick with more of a nano-brewery, which is a small scale brewery. So, but we, at this point, don't want to distribute it out to like bars, liquor stores, all that. We want to stick with come to us. Growler fills, maybe getting the canning. Canning's one of those things where it's, unless you're going really large scale, it's really pricey.
We've seen a lot of places.
And it's
turn to canning. Like a lot of breweries
Yeah.
get into it.
a lot of them do that, or a lot of breweries actually will go to other breweries that have giant canning lines.
I noticed that actually.
And
I don't know.
but if they do that, they have to brew on that brewery's site.
Yeah.
So you can have your own people there to like oversee, but it's their equipment, and you're getting charged
Less control.
an amount. You have less control.
And you can go with a mobile cannery, but
Thank
mobile
you.
canneries usually require a specific number of barrelage in order for them to even consider showing up at your site, because you have so much loss on the front end and the back end.
Okay.
So like if you bring a mobile cannery in, fantastic, but it's usually like a minimum of 20 barrels that you have to have in order to can, which is great. And if you have that sort of retention capabilities to hold that volume of beer, fantastic. But like if you don't, it's just not worth the effort of going that route. Smaller scale mobile canneries are popping up for sure, but bigger ones, more common ones, are usually 20 barrel minimum to hit the
I
can.
understand. This is exactly what I was hoping for when you guys coming on. Was what I was hoping for. And I feel like you guys feel the same way. I just don't want to
Go for it. I don't know.
like it's like the science and the business side of like the science of like the nitty gritty of like boiling and getting through that.
Yeah.
Like the business side of canning and going through all of this, because this is not information we get from the breweries we visit.
Maybe one or two.
Yeah, one or two, like they lightly touched it, but definitely not to like this in depth. I'm really new, and it's not just
Like for canning wise, like we can buy single sealing can units, and we would have to fill and lid and seal every can by the single, which watching like videos on how it works, if you're good at it, yeah, it's good. And you can actually do like different size cans. You can do crowlers and everything else. So like the bigger
cans.
Yeah.
Crowlers
is a
I learned.
large can,
You know that.
larger than 16-ounce can. It's 32.
It sounds like another job that they'd probably make me do. Sit there with the can.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
like,
you're
you bring
not
us the
gonna
can
crack
of growlers too.
Yeah, I
I'm
guess
playing
if
too,
you're
guys.
sealing, if you're sealing them, I guess somebody else.
No, I like growlers, but like something just makes you feel like
With the job,
super,
yeah.
super strong and tough when you're holding a growler. You're just like, give me that thing. Let's,
Yeah,
let's
you just
not
feel
do
like
that,
Bob
baby.
Swanson.
You have to be
Just
super
like-
strong, but then you have to be gentle too, because
Yeah, but
so
yeah,
I don't want to
sure.
drop. Because growlers are not cheap.
Yeah,
No.
as I found out when I was purchasing the last batch of them.
That wasn't that bad.
It'll turn out to be a profit.
Yeah.
So you said like people have to like they go to you to.
Yeah, so we're
So
gonna.
where is that? If there's a location yet?
We are still trying to like think about locations. We don't know exactly 100% like where we'd be. I live South Shore, and I actually own a rental property that has enough land on it that we could build the brewery there, and it would be like small scale garage size brewery, because all we're gonna do is brew the beer and just have like garage door that opens, distribute right there.
That's
it.
actually pretty awesome.
So
Dude, that's sick. Yeah.
That would crush in something like up around here.
Oh,
That
they,
would
oh yeah.
crush in
They
some-
would love it. Yeah. People
Yeah,
want
you would have people around the block.
Yeah.
Because that is just such a cool concept.
But that's pretty much our plan now, and we're more just trying to figure out everything, which we can't even do that because you need approval from the town that you go to, you need state approval, and you need federal,
Yeah, it's a concept.
which it's a lot of things. And so you have to go in the right order, prove stuff, paperwork. All three of us basically need full Corey checks, and
You have to sign over your firstborn.
everything, background checks.
You got to
Well,
leave
you
buy a
said
house,
something
and therefore you
about
lose the first two kids.
You said something about having a spare room. We were able to move in here.
I got a
and go
garage too.
upstairs.
Oh, yeah, I got a garage too, and my landlord's having to do it. She gave me seven.
Oh, she wanted to have that.
We'll just give her a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And Tim, I have kettlebells in the basement, so like.
It's perfect. I don't have to go anywhere.
I was gonna say,
Exactly.
we can leave. Yeah.
Nail
So
salon.
it's a damn thing. We could just put Tessie down there. It would be great.
Group lifts. Call it that. I like it.
Exactly. And there's no lawns, so like.
That would fit with the theme. It would be beers and bells.
It
So
would.
It
Like,
be,
they're like,
yeah. It'd be sad.
holy
So this is actually, it was supposed to be a session IPA with passion fruit,
Yes.
but the ABV value kind of got a little higher.
Yeah, 6.5%. That's why
it
I have
can-
to take this one.
It cannot be considered a session.
It's one hell of a session.
So what's the difference between a session and a full IPA?
Basically, it's more the percentage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
it's the percentage of alcohol in that notes.
So the tricky part is there's technically session is a term in common use. There's no actual defining characteristic that will say above this point it's this, below this point it's that. Same on the other end where imperials, people say, oh, you get an imperial, it starts at 9. There are people who say imperial starts at 12, and then you get the folks that are like, imperial, don't even talk to me until you're at 15 to 18.
Oh my god!
Yeah, no, there's some.
You can set that on fire.
You can, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Those are rookie
It's
numbers.
Yeah, exactly. The way I've always kind of worked around the numbers is anything below 4% in the 3.5 range is considered session. A true day drinking beer. You can have 12 of them and your body's not going to move it through quick enough to really get you hammered. There's more liquid than, yeah, exactly. And that's really where it falls into it. But there's no, it's not like a federally regulated thing to say a session beer is a beer at this point.
That's cool.
So it's kind of like this is a session, just not for people who have fully functioning livers from, work.
Hey.
So they're like sort of thing like that. But it's usually below 4, around about 3.5%. And then there's an entirely separate class of beers that fall in like the 2 to 2.5% beer.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Water, have one of those.
There's a style that originates out of Germany called Berliner Weiss.
Oh, yeah.
And a good Berliner should be about 2 to 2.5%. And the idea behind it was it functioned pretty much on the premise of you've got farm hands working in your field. In order to keep them hydrated, you can't give them the water. The water's probably not in a position for them to drink because you either need it for the farm or you need it for your own house. So meanwhile, you made this beer that was an unbelievably low gravity beer that they can drink all day. They'll stay well hydrated, but it functions on the premise of a beer in that it delivers you the electrolytes from the beer.
I'm going to start
This is so.
Bringing these in for our sessions. That's
Gatorade doesn't have on that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It
So
delivers you the high volume of electrolytes with a tiny amount of alcohol and a high volume of hydration.
So you could name it Kettle Brew, and then that you could have like a
Kettle Brew.
whole partnership
Yeah.
with the personal
Oh my
trainer.
God. I don't know if it's beer, but I'm getting so excited about that idea.
And they also involved a lactofront, so they were aggressively sour beers. So to drink it, it'd be like drinking a lemonade in the field that just happened to be about 2.5% alcohol.
They're going to start dumping down on the coaches after they win the Super Bowl.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah, dude!
I want to have you on like another episode just so you can talk about the history of
Only if I can
beers.
bring these two with me.
This
Oh,
is
no, no,
Yeah.
100.
He brings the beer. I don't
I was
talk
gonna
like
say,
this
all
unless
right,
I'm drinking.
so
It stays hidden inside
Yeah.
until the alcohol.
I was going to say, how many weeks till I got another
Oh,
5 years?
yeah,
I got to make sure I got enough.
I can see you guys
You
have
like
a
our
great.
regular our regular guests.
Yeah, you guys obviously have a great flow as a team, though. You guys obviously have distinct strengths, and they complement each other. Looks like you guys have a really good team dynamic.
Well, I
I
think-
like that.
I think
good yin yang.
very well, and I think one thing that's really kind of impressed me is we all have our different hobbies that we do outside of brewing as well that we all interact with on different levels.
Oh, cool.
Like I haven't known a ton about hunting, but Dave and Tim have introduced me a lot to hunting, and Dave's given me more kind of nitty gritty stuff about that side of it than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
Kind of in the same vein, I like taking my bike out for a spin, but nothing like Tim does, and I've been able to bounce ideas off him for things that are like, hey, I'm looking at this, what do you think about that? And so on top of the fact that I feel like we do work very well for brewing, it extends beyond that, and I think that's kind of where the foundation of the roots really develop, is that, it's not just about having beer together, it's that, all of our interests kind of intermingle elsewhere, and that really helps strengthen the kind of relationship that we've built around what will become a fantastic entity in brewing.
I fucking love that.
That's awesome, man.
Great answer.
That was a hell of a mission statement, man. Like Jesus.
We could just get that snippet cut out and send it over to us. We'll write it down.
We're not
We'll
gonna
save it.
do that. We're actually going to put it like on stitching. Like I said, the landlord's 87. I'm sure she could do some type of embroidery.
Little macrame.
Yeah. Little macrame. We'll frame it. We'll just send it to you. Put it on a pillow
There we go.
It's a big
or a dog bed, whichever. Yeah.
She embroidered it on the back of the couch.
There we go.
Just put it on the back of your
So is the idea for when you hopefully first get that like the garage situation going, like maybe on the website, for example, you maybe order what you want for that week on like by like Tuesday kind of brew all week. They come pick it up on a Sunday kind of thing. Or is that like kind of?
I guess how do you, so like how do you?
Because it's just a pickup process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
well,
I can't roll up. Be like, what do you got?
Yeah, like you already know what they want, so you brew it for them. They come pick it up, and then you're done for the week. Kind of thing.
Or do you have stock?
well, it's depending on the beer. It can take a week and a half to 3 months
Oh,
for
okay.
beer.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
one of those things where it's more we we brew ourselves
actually
beers.
a model where we're able to like deliver on the day. We'll brew
Oh,
what we
yeah.
want to brew, and then
Oh,
that's
okay.
what's going to be available for people to pick up. And
People
obviously-
if people like it.
Which again, this market is all about that. Like that would be
You
fun.
guys would actually crush it.
there will be delivery to BSC.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh, dude,
don't
they-
worry.
I was
We'll
kinda
have-
asking
I mean,
about that.
we will, in theory, have the fridges behind the, there's like the electrolytes. Like the
Yeah,
electrolyte
no, of
thing.
course.
You sold me on
Are you
that.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Sean and I are already thinking about kettle brew commercials and like advertisements.
Oh, yeah.
Like similar to.
Oh
the
no,
beer.
I saw it looking. Or I mean, you guys just saw.
I'll text my buddy The Rock and we'll get you guys in for some serious advertising.
The way to do it is you get a kettlebell shaped growler,
Yeah.
right? So that way it's already got the handles. You've got the ball. You just unscrew the little cap.
This
and then
guy!
you pour it out, right?
Dude, you're the man, bro.
If you're gonna make a kettle brew, serve it in a kettle ball.
Oh yeah. Honestly, you the way I'm. That's
the way to roll.
Yeah, we like it. We'll look the other way too. We want the growler-shaped kettlebell for us
exactly.
to work out as
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
cover all
kettlebell-shaped
bases.
growler for us.
We'll have to make sure you
enjoy
get the
afterwards.
handle ones, not the Boston ones.
Yeah, well, that'd be tough. Yeah.
Oh.
those it's gonna be hard.
That's gonna be tough. Yeah.
I guess it's a good challenge with the hand because you gotta do it sideways.
Yeah.
And then you fight the condensation, and then you have that whole.
Yeah.
It's a
Chalk. You just use chalk.
We
Chalk
definitely
textured
see
handles.
this guy's definitely the brains. He's definitely the smart one.
Oh,
No offense to you. No offense. No
It's
offense.
literally just because of the booze.
Yeah.
Like, this all goes away.
It's your superpower.
I just go back to sleep and that's it. I go back to my computer and type. That's it.
I was gonna say I give them just like 2 little cups of it. I'm like, all right, what's your idea?
Yeah.
It's like a wind-up toy. Just
Did you ever see that episode of Family Guy where Peter can't play the piano really well unless he's drunk?
Did I get
It starts not playing well, and then the
Yeah.
funnel comes out.
Exactly.
See, I have the opposite problem. Speaking of Family Guy, where it's like they got hammered. I think they were actually high. But like they got hammered.
That was another episode.
And they were they thinking they were crushing
They
the
were
singing.
singing.
When in reality, they were just
Yeah.
and just the whole time. And see, that's me. I have the opposite issue. Thinking I'm nailing something, but instead it's just my head against the wall.
It's, yeah, well, I think we're all like that. Ooh. All right.
Is this a third one?
Like this color.
This is 5. This is 5.
Thank you.
Numbers are tough.
Yeah, well,
It's alright. I mean,
Numbers are limited.
you already know we don't count reps right now. It's like,
that's
it's
true.
like-
I just
I mean,
hit a
to
specific
dive
reps,
off
like-
beer real quick. So like, Tim, you're Sean's client.
Yeah.
That's how this all started. You
Yeah.
signed on with Sean.
technically yes.
And you originally signed on to improve. I said like because you used to run amateur baseball. You signed on to get better at baseball.
That was pretty much it. It was just a general, like an overall health thing to
Yeah.
help me with baseball, and I've transitioned recently more from baseball to more running, swimming, biking, and doing some triathlons.
Cue iron,
you know. But it's been great. Like all this endurance stuff has really been helped with all the kettlebell things that we've been doing, and it's been
Just
Yeah,
don't hold back. This is here.
2 years now.
It's a little
2 years
bit
since
too.
September.
Damn, it has been that long. Yeah.
it only feels like eternity.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. I would say it feels shorter. Like, I can't believe.
But I've never had a client like Tim in terms of like doing the stuff I actually give him outside of our session and just like you were talking about the bike thing earlier. There's no other client I've had in 3 years that's like this guy. So if he has persistence with you,
Do you're a soldier.
Dude, you're like the
he's a
Terminator,
robot.
man.
He's literally a robot.
Yeah.
But if he's just persistent with the brewing process as he is with fitness, you guys will be fine. So.
I believe it. We were fishing down in Rhode Island last weekend. Tim actually ran from his house down to Rhode Island. It was incredible.
That was
yeah,
I got up at 3 in the morning
He
and I
carried
just
his bike on his shoulder and rode back.
It wouldn't
Like,
surprise
What
me.
happened? Well, I thought I broke a chain. I didn't want to risk it. So
I mean, out of all of us, he would be the one that would
I heard a random noise from my bike, so
I didn't want to risk it. So.
yeah, I ran.
And honestly, if that was a true story, I would have batted it back. Still been out of.
Well, considering I was the one that brought his fishing gear.
It makes it a little easier.
It's
I
actually
don't have to
it's actually my fishing.
Avoiding the hooks and whatnot. Yeah.
But one of my favorite stories about Tim, and I tell this to everybody all the time if he comes up. You know what I say?
No.
Because like in training, like training a specific client, it's like you'll give a certain amount of, let's just say it's 3 sets of whatever. It's that, yeah. You know.
Here.
So depending on the exercise, I'd be like, all right, we're gonna try go 8 to 10 reps. Meaning because if 8's a struggle, like we can either change the weight or that's just right for the day, or if 10's too easy, we know we can change the weight or whatever it may be. So I'll tell him that's what we're doing, and he'll go, how many reps? And I think he just doesn't hear me. I go, 8 to 10. How many? 10. Every time it hammers the number above it. It's like, and I still do it to this day. It's almost 2 years. And I'm like, maybe you didn't hear me the first time I said it. And he's like, no, the 10 reps, not the 8.
Seeing how strong you got, or I mean, how strong you've gotten. I won't say you got. How strong you've gotten over the 2 years you trained with him is just incredible. Like, see your deadlift shot up. What were your TSC numbers? The tactical strength challenge numbers.
385 on the deadlift.
Yeah, dude,
was
yeah.
11 or 12 pull-ups,
Dude.
and then the 117 on the snatch.
Yeah, and that wasn't your first one. You did the one prior, right?
I did the one prior with the 24 as well.
So what were your numbers prior to that?
I had 107, 345 or 355.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then single
oh.
digits on pull-ups.
Oh, so you really shot up.
No, but I mean, Sean's my trainer, but it's been all of you guys. I mean, we've talked and you've helped me with stuff with deadlift, and,
I love you too.
we've had our little competition there back and forth.
Oh, that was fun.
of where we are, because we both work with Sean.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's everybody. It's like family over there.
When you show up, it's game
you gotta
on.
step it up.
Yeah, I know I gotta step it up.
You
I
gotta get
can't.
the real weights on.
I can't slack off that show up.
But actually, I'll compare that to like the kind of what you said earlier, like how because of your different strengths outside of the brewing process, just makes your little community that you have going on even better. It's just kind of the same thing what he just said. It's like, yeah, he works with me, but also because of how close all the other trainers are, it's not like a hostile environment in terms of like, Tommy doesn't give a crap about my clients or vice versa. It's like we all help each other out. And it's like that's how else can you succeed?
Yeah, it's your role.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
I've had clients help my other clients with like technique and stuff, and that's like a huge honor.
That doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
so, like I don't know like what we so like yes, a personal trainer. So we work at BSC like right up the road, and one thing you do not get in commercial gyms is a community environment because it's usually like it's kind of sharky our field in like a commercial environment because like if you don't get that client, like it's a zero sum game, or it's not a zero sum. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a zero sum game. Like if in theory, if Sean gets a client, I don't get that client.
Right.
But that's not how we view it, and that's very important. Yeah, so like I support Sean, I support Marco, and they support me, just like what Tim was saying as well. Like, we've all helped Tim, and Tim's helped us in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah. Dude, you've brought a couple of
He's got me drunk a few times.
growlers, right?
No,
Growlers.
just the regular bottles, the bombers and the
Oh yeah,
12s.
yeah. But you've brought at least a couple of those over. You've brought baseballs. You brought chalk. Like just what
I have
Tommy
a
talked
box of
about.
balls thanks to Tim.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like literally, I mean, you're gonna think I'm saying this just because you're on the show, you're with us, but you're a huge part of the community that we've built at BS.
I was actually just about to say that. So like there's a few clients among all of us that kind of fits on the umbrella where it's like, yeah, you're just one of us. Like,
Yeah.
You're one of the few.
Sure. I mean, it's rolled to me, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, what do we got now? We got
I'll
order around. I want to make sure we get this next
Yes,
year.
I apologize. You apologize.
He's trying to spotlight. He's like, stop talking about it.
Hold on a second. But like, I haven't eaten, and this is our 5th beer.
Tell me more about how strong I am. That's
So that 385
That's
deadlift was
separate.
just sensational.
You're getting strong. How's that body weight? I gotta cut you down somehow.
I was gonna say he's just hoping another story doesn't come up.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
So that one time,
Yeah.
So the oh no, that's a test. Wait, what's the new one?
That's a new one.
That's the one.
That's the new one?
So this is
Oh, this is the hibiscus you talked
this is
about.
the
at the very
hibiscus
beginning.
ale.
oh yeah, that's right.
It's 7.7. That's all I'm doing.
I did this about a year ago, a test batch of 3 gallons, and it just killed my house so fast. My wife, her friends, all love this beer. My friends liked it, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to upscale it up, and it worked out great. I ended up making 20 gallons of this, which for what I have, my fermenter right now is stainless steel fermenter, and it can do 27 gallons. And I decided after a loss amount, it started at 25 and had some loss. Everything else I had to make some tweaking because my grain was milled too thin, so I had a lot of sediment that I had to drain out. So we but in the end, I got 20 gallons of it, and it still kills even more. It's a nice sweet tart. The hibiscus actually gets put in during the boil, just at the very end of the boil, and it basically turns a Pilsner ale or a Pilsner into a pink, delicious tart, sweet.
That's awesome.
It just looks so pretty.
Yeah.
When he says it killed in his house, it had to because he hooked it up to all the faucets. So now just the hibiscus comes up now.
I actually had to hook up.
Like Willy Wonka style.
I go from the water.
That's 7%.
Wouldn't that be awesome though?
I didn't even taste it.
This is sneaky. I can see it sneaking up on you. Yeah. Wow.
It's currently everything is currently sneaking up on you.
Which it actually, I really, with my measurements and everything else, you don't realize what it's going to really be at till it's all fermented and you take your final gravity measurement, which is the alcohol to water ratios.
Thank you for answering that, 'cause I was wondering.
And do conversions.
Well,
And
I apologize.
Oh,
So I got distracted.
through the line, you take measurements of the gravity of your beer as it goes, and that basically how.
Physical gravity, or is that gravity like a term meaning something?
So gravity is like the water to
Measure the density of fluid.
Yeah.
Okay.
The density
Sorry,
of
I was
fluid.
asking. I'm sorry. I was asking.
The best way to say it, the density. I just know how to use all the tools.
Hey, that's very important, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's
Yeah.
The
Pause.
actual
Pause.
definition,
Yeah, okay.
the actual description of it is different for me. So you don't really know like how much it's going to do because it also depends on the efficiency of how I made the beer. So my efficiency with my whole new system that I've been using now is just crazy. So it actually is something I made over the past few years. I now do with the new system, and it just skyrockets.
It's like the super lab from Breaking Bad.
Okay,
So a good way to think about it,
keep talking.
Yeah.
you have the density of your liquid before,
Right.
and then your density of the liquid after that
Yeah.
you've gone from fermenting, so you have
One
no
to the
alcohol to alcohol.
Yeah, one through the process.
So you know that the only thing that's changed is no alcohol, and now you have alcohol.
And that's what
So there's a
the gravity.
formula to be able to tell how much the density of the liquid has changed from before to after,
Yeah.
and you can convert that to how much alcohol you've actually produced. So when they say the gravity, you're using density measurements to say
That makes
before
perfect
alcohol,
sense.
after alcohol, and you can use the conversion to say, all right, it's changed this much. That means that there's this percent of alcohol now in there that your yeast have eaten all of your sugars
Gotcha.
to convert to.
Now afterwards, would it be lighter or heavier?
It's
It would be light. That putting that into context was thank you.
It basically the yeast eats all the sugar, so it basically has taken away all that density. So now it's not more.
Up until this podcast, that was literally the only part of brewing I knew. Yeast eats sugar. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
we haven't done
yeah,
this before.
That's an important part. Though.
It's just like
Very
it's like
important
the
part.
biggest
It's a very
part.
important
Like
part.
that's
A lot
that's
less
all I
exciting
knew.
without it.
It's like you have to stop. It's like driving. You have to stop at a red light. Like that's all we knew.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or like brake pedals to the left of the gas pedal.
It's like when you learn about the.
yeah.
Oh, I was halfway through the sentence being like, yeah.
It's like Michael Scott saying, like, "Oh, I just hope I find my."
Yeah.
We're huge fans of the
Hope
office.
you figure out where you want
Yeah,
that.
off some Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
That's our thing. Like I mean,
But well, one of my other questions actually, since you kind of started talking about it and we got a little off topic, was if you had to guess what your top seller would it be this, just because of how it kills in your house, or
or predict what your top stuff is.
yeah, well, like what do you think the most popular now would be to date?
As of right now, just using hibiscus only came out a little over a week ago.
Oh,
So because I actually kegged it
Stop putting a hammer.
just after
push my
4th of July. So because then I
grab a spare
my next. So it's hard to say. I go by the ratings I get plus the response from people that I give them to that don't go on into house. And so far, passion fruit's been pretty good, but the hibiscus is more like a well-rounded fruit. Like you have people that like
That's the that pink one.
that's hibiscus.
I don't like it. That's
It's
really
one,
good.
It's one of those things where it's like you have people that like certain beers, and that's what they stick with. I know people that like sours, and they're like they'll drink other beers, but they really want to stick with a sour or like a stout or an IPA.
Sours are good. I love IPAs.
And
I just like the feeling.
it's hard to say, but so far hibiscus has really been good, especially knowing it was the first IPA. So you never know.
There's going to be a lot that goes into when we think about what this is going to look like 5 years from now. You have what we love and what we want to brew, and then you have what people are going to want to buy.
It's not always the same thing.
That's
A lot of times it's not right.
That's true.
With the beer industry, it changes as fast as you can change your
I
clothes.
mean, right now, it's
Yeah,
been-
smoked beers were huge. Stouts, porters, IPAs, pilsners, sours.
Sounds of them
Changes.
IPAs, haven't they?
Sours are
Something,
a little bit in more in that ballpark. Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when people liked black IPAs for some reason.
Yeah,
I still don't
Cascadian
understand
IPA.
that.
Never-
IPAs.
They use this black malt, this stuff called Midnight Wheat, and it's good. It's usually a deep bittered black malt, and it's good, but there's no style behind it. Like literally, there's an entire like regulated set of style guidelines. There is no such thing as a black IPA. That's like saying, oh, I made a roast turkey and stuffed it with hard-boiled eggs, and that's Thanksgiving dinner. It's like nobody on earth is going to look at that and be like, no, that is an acceptable Thanksgiving dinner,
That's
right?
exactly how I felt about black IPAs.
Right, and that's exactly it. Like you look at Black ICAA and you're like, okay, well, just because you made it didn't mean you should. Like it's not part of the style.
Like Jurassic Park.
Exactly. Well,
Wow.
That was
Like,
fine.
that was quick. That was quick.
I know you thought the same thing.
No, I didn't. That was quick.
Yeah, I saw the previews for that. I was like, what? I was like, all right, now they're out in the world.
So we'll
Yeah.
find a balance, though. We'll find a balance of
Wait,
what we
but-
want to make, what we're good at making, and what people want to drink. And it's it'll vary by season. There's beers that are better suited for brewing in the earlier months of the year. There's beers that are better suited for brewing towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
You lager in the winter. You get your ales ready for the beginning of summer. So we have to find our niche. We have to find what our brewery is going to really provide to the public, and then we need to find out what the public wants from us in terms of what we want to make.
That is a great philosophy to have. I like that.
I will be there. You guys will crush it up here in summer.
If we got
In this area.
I got you.
I can use my teeth.
Hold on. I want Tommy to wait.
Yeah, try Tommy.
That?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Try it.
It takes you like 3 tries.
Do you remember Jimmy's friend?
Oh, it's Jimmy. Oh, shit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so.
Oh!
All right, can't wait.
I used the bartender
For practice.
No, I could have sworn you
tried it once or twice, but it didn't work.
We are
Oh my
God.
God.
As soon as you was opening it, I was like,
what? But I remember.
All over him. All
On
over
a podcast? I mean, if anything, I'm on this because I've had
That's
7 beers.
that was one. That's
Oh,
two.
see?
That's
Put him on the
I
spot.
switched hands
That's
to be
this
cocky.
coach's-
But it was still pretty good.
I switched hands and I got cocky.
You flew too close to the sun, man.
I love
I know.
it.
Well, I went left-handed. I'm left-handed. So I'm like,
Especially when you say it to Jimmy.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's
I'll
that
take
funny.
2 for. I made it go. Like I did.
No, that was good. Honestly, offhand, that's not easy.
Well, I'm not, is that offhand? I'm left-handed.
Well, whatever you use.
So what is this?
This is not Tessie Brewing.
Okay, so
This
what
is Phase 4 Brewing. This is my other little side venture.
This
that
is
I
your
have.
thing.
This is my thing.
We weren't expecting that, Tim.
Oh, no.
Out of left field with Tip.
I snuck it in here, even though this was for a Tessie Brewing.
No. This is honestly, this is fantastic. I'm happy.
This is a recipe that I'll be bringing over to the group. This is my raspberry Hefeweizen. This is the third iteration of
Sorry,
it.
this is good.
That's
We've had this.
Yeah.
I got
8 beers in. I'm good.
So these guys have had it before.
I'll sit in the car on the way home.
But yeah, I wanted to bring it back, and then we'll bring it to these guys to do it on a larger
It's my
scale.
favorite one that you brought us. It's a raspberry. This
The
one's
coffee
really
was really, really good.
Yeah.
The coffee one was
It was.
really
Is
good.
that the stout? Coffee stout? What was that style they had?
the coffee ale.
That was
It's
a
tart.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so it uses all fresh raspberries. When you're brewing it before you add the raspberries, you do get that strong banana smell for the yeast that you use with the hefs. But it gets washed out a bit by the raspberries, and it was inspired by that by Raspberry UFO from Harpoon. That's I had from that.
Oh yeah, okay. We were there. Great beer, great people. Continue to.
Yeah. So this
Pretzel's
was
gonna have a strong pretzel.
So this was one of the favorites that I've had. We've been brewing for about my friend Kevin and I for about 4 years, and so I think this is the 4th time that we've made it. It's always one of the fan favorites when we
Yeah.
bottle.
Oh, it's great. I love. Yeah, this is.
Now I'm gonna need a full list of everything you tried today because I need to put them on tap. Because my 2020 goal is to get to 100 beers on tap.
What are you
I'm
at?
like 20.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
we've had at
I
least
can
6 more
actively
today.
try to help you. What do we always like to say?
We're all on.
Gotta pump those
We gotta pump those numbers up. We gotta pump those numbers up.
6 months to get through 80 beers.
I try a different beer every time I go to a restaurant. Like tonight, I'm going out for my girlfriend's mom's birthday. I'll try probably 1 or 2 different beers. You know what I mean? So it's like
Okay.
and I've always been logging the ones we go in here. So.
Flights are your friend.
That's
easy.
true. That's
Flights
true.
are your
Flights
friend.
are-
Yeah.
Speaking of flights, I think you came up with the best name.
Oh well, he's a Batman fanatic, and he was so. That's a good question for you guys, which we'll probably use towards the end to wrap up on. But like, what if you were to name a beer after yourself or something about your personality,
That's a good question
whatever?
for right now.
What, yeah, we'll just get into it now. Though. And we were trying to figure him out, and Batman came up, and a good one for him would be the Dark Flight. That was
As long as there's no black IPAs on it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they already have the beer called Arrogant Bastard, so I really don't know.
Yeah. Which is really good, by the way. I like the Arrogant Bastard.
Stone's a badass. Stone's
All right, fine. If
I already have one in a couple.
Stone's
of
hell of a brewery.
Yeah.
Stone Arrogant
Stone-
Bastard. I'm just gonna have to buy that brewery and have that as my brew name.
Yeah.
What about you guys? If you had you can come up with something, or if you identify as another beer like Tim does.
Tim identifies as another beer. I mean, it's 2020. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
I used to like pop names like in my head all the time. Like these two can attest to it because they get text messages all the time. Whether I'm driving and I just yell over to my phone to either save it or send it to them. It's definitely hard to like do one to me, but like I usually think about like
Was not expecting.
I usually think about like other people when it comes down to it. Like one of the things like I brought up in my head was through driving, just like thinking about beer names was like my dad, which was so my son Mark calls him Papa. So I was like, oh, there's a Papa Pills.
Okay. All right.
And I'm like, my dad, he doesn't drink. Like he'll like try my stuff with like a sip, smell it to try it. But he doesn't drink. And so I thought of that one, and I have a ginger beer ale that actually was wonderful as what I call a mimosa. So
Mimosa.
Mother's Day, I got champagne for the wife, so she can make mimosas. And I was like, well, I don't want to drink hers, so I'm like, these ginger beers. I wonder how that tastes. So I mixed ginger beer with orange juice and pomegranate juice.
Okay.
And it was just amazing.
Nice.
Sounds like an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
flavor.
It was
Man-mosa.
Yeah, it's a
I
man-mosa.
like that.
You will have that available at our brewery.
Yeah,
For breakfast.
Man,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
for brunch, you know, you show up a little, if we open
Part of
early.
the flight.
Yeah, exactly.
Part of the flight. But personally, I just like I don't really think of like naming a beer after myself, just because
He named so many.
I named a brewery. Well, I named so many, but I named a brewery after my dog.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like I'd rather name beers after people that have helped out and supported me.
I like that. Makes sense.
So it's one of those things where I still can't think of those.
So then in that case, let's name one for you.
Okay.
So what is your favorite beer? The type of like genre? Oh, genre. But you know, style.
So I
Same thing. You're just so disappointed.
Just
You're
genres
like
of
we've
beer.
come so far. What happened?
yeah.
7 beers happened.
Fair.
So
I have a film degree. Leave me alone.
I usually do like I like hazy New England IPAs.
Yeah, buddy.
So since you're the master brewer, I'm glad you said that because I already had the idea. Since you're the master brewer, the master IPA.
That's right. Yeah.
Or the Haze Master.
Ooh. Haze Master's good one, too.
The Haze Master IPA.
Haze
And
Master.
people don't think the road to watch stone for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
my
my
God,
God.
dude, that's-
You like
I
that?
like that stuff.
which is worse because there's actually a beer out there that they're working on marijuana beer, but they have it's no actually there's no THC in it. It's made with it's like CBD and
You get it.
it
Now,
you can get this.
Can
How would you show this?
Stimulant depressant.
Yeah.
But I had it at my first beer, the 12-pack. I saw it, tried it. It was interesting, but
To put you on your ass? Oh,
Yeah.
like, really?
I really like the Haze Master.
You like that?
IPA.
that's what I like.
What about your name? What about your beer name?
Oh, that's a good. I guess for me, I fall into one of two categories for beers. I love stouts. That's where I first kind of fell in love with beers. I would stand in line at this brewery in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I would get there at like 3 o'clock in the morning, wait until 11 a.m. for the brewery to open, and then maybe get in by 4 or 5 in the afternoon for this one beer that was only available one day a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I was about to
this
say,
was-
like, that's a lot. Like,
And it was
a
also
lot.
like
Jesus.
in early March, maybe, so it was cold up there for sure.
Oh, it's one day a year. That's
Yeah, it
When I
was.
was
The,
like-
the name of the beer was Kate the Great. So like, I fell in love
Yeah,
with
that's a good
beer
beer.
because of it was a Russian Imperial Stout, so it kind of worked.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I fell in love with beer for stouts. So that's one angle. But I also love sours, but more on the funky side, less on the sour side, maybe. So more your farmhouses, your barnyards. You're just like, I want to open it and just have it smell like gym socks. Like when it hits that mark,
Nice.
and it is as funky as you could ask for. Like that's what I.
Beer is so cool.
Yeah, it's wild.
We're
And
gonna come up with a better description when
Yeah.
we make our sours.
it's
Yeah.
well, so
Gym sock-
put that
gym
in
sock
sour.
sour.
so
Like
like
gym sock sour.
a lifetime
That's
ago.
a third one. I'll write that one.
I don't know, man. Your hipster audience would probably really be into it. Like, this is
True.
so rustic.
Gym sock sour.
Very, very rusty.
A life, and the beer people will get it. You're like,
And they'll get it,
oh,
yeah.
That's it.
alright.
There it is. Nailed it. So a lifetime ago, I used to teach
So
a
I'll take
beer
the
making
shit.
class, and Tim actually came to my beer making class. Do you remember how I described sours or like Belgian specifically
Under pressure.
beers that
Yeah.
feature Brettanomyces?
No.
Their classic descriptor is they smell and taste like a sweaty horse blanket. I don't know who's going out and tasting a sweaty horse blanket, but that's it. That's what I love.
So that's gonna be your beer name, Sweaty Horse
I
Blanket.
can tell you that. I'm
Alright, we got
it's
it.
so
It's
good.
That's what you
Yeah.
Sweaty horse blanket.
Sour.
Sour.
So I think I
Sour
don't know,
sweaty horse blanket. That sounds even worse.
like something farm related. I don't know. I spent a lot of time on a farm when I was in college, and like I don't know. I love that. So if it was between stouts and that, like my favorite stout that I ever brewed, I named Dark Magic because it was also a coffee stout, so it kind of fit the whole
Oh,
a darker style of roast. And then for sours, there's this kind of backbeat track that they use in house music, and it was called Dr. Funkenstein, and I love that a lot for kind of a good, aggressive, funky farmhouse ale.
I like that. Dr. Funkenstein. That's cool.
We hear through so many names just out of that one, right?
We'll narrow it down to something. But that actually takes me to the next question because.
Or we could also let people vote what their favorite is.
Oh yeah, we could take a poll. But all right, not so much a gun to your head situation, but like let's say hypothetically speaking, you're on death row. Doesn't matter what your final meal is, but what would be the drink you would have?
Ooh.
Does it have to currently exist, or is it past, present, future? Like
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want, man.
So
Okay,
it's the
great.
last thing you're gonna drink.
Okay.
Kate the Great.
Yeah,
Hands
okay,
down.
okay,
If I
okay,
could go
okay.
back, they don't produce it anymore. If I could have
Oh, yeah.
probably like 2012 Kate the Great. That would be it. That'd be my
The last thing to touch your
last
lips
beer I
before
could
the
ever
switch.
have. Kate
Yeah.
the Great.
Right.
Without even thinking about it.
So like, so they don't do that.
What about you?
I got my
So-
Okay, well,
Go for it.
I got two that are hard to decide. One actually was the first time I ever had it last year with both these guys.
good fucking
Because we showed up for it. So we went to Treehouse.
You're gonna say
I've never
King Julius, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
It would be King Julius, which was amazing. We showed up the one day you could only get one, or
It's
one
of two
can.
cans,
One
yeah.
can.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's when.
Wow.
But
I was just talking about that trip.
Or-
2 years ago.
I just love Allagash's quad. Like that is one of those things. Like
Quad IPA.
it is a quad Belgian.
Belgium.
It's a Belgian quad. So it's just like it's just this nice, strong, like delicious Belgian. And the only time I really buy it is like there has to be a good excess of money to buy it because you get one big bottle and it's not cheap.
Oh yeah.
Nice. I mean, it makes perfect.
And it takes forever. It takes a long time to make and a lot of ingredients, and it's just one of those things where I'd love to make it. I just don't have the time, and I would not put the money in to mess it up.
It's like a Hattori Hanzo sword from Gilbert. Basically. It's like super high quality.
Yeah.
It
Sounds like it. Yeah.
awesome.
But you're,
And mine was going to be King Julius as well. That was
Nice.
That's what
without
you-
even thinking about it.
It's King Julius.
That's
Because
what I
everyone
feel.
has that idea in their head. It's like even a meal, like you know what you would pick to have for the
I
last
feel like last meal though, I would try to be one of those people who'd be like
Those chips and salsa.
kind of like
you
cereal or the milk and the
cereal just
that or just like some obscene volume of food. So then it's like, you know what? If you're going to execute me, I just feel bad for the coroner who's going to have to deal with the aftermath.
Oh,
I feel bad for everyone
I'm
there,
getting my
because
revenge
my
on
balls
someone.
are
Yeah,
gonna
you
fall.
know?
yeah.
I like 5-alarm chili.
You know, like, give me like 3 family-sized buckets
that
of
the way it comes
KFC. Like,
10 beefy 5-ray burritos. I'm talking about.
I want poo
Like,
for 8. Like, give me a poo-poo platter for 8 people.
Just
Like,
like-
You're gonna get a poo-poo platter at the
exactly.
Yeah.
Just really wreck the audience.
Unpopped popcorn kernels, because if it's the electric chair,
Ooh,
then
Wow. You definitely put thought into this. Just swallow a handful of it. This guy's thinking. This guy's thinking.
Answer B.
Never was I expecting that answer.
That was awesome.
I love that. That's great though.
Bro,
Could you imagine? They open up the curtain and like, pop, pop, pop. What the? What's going on?
It's a whole different definition of popcorn farts. A whole different definition.
Okay, so but like if you're wearing the black hood that they put in, does it open up like a thing of Jiffy Pop? Like, it's like, come out of your nose and mouth, you know?
man, this podcast is taking a turn.
I know
For
you're
the better.
the
For the better.
Yeah.
Oh man, but so they know like the idea you were talking like when you first said it, you was like, that's the beer I'm gonna get. What's it called again?
Kate the Great.
Kate the Great. And they said they don't make it anymore. You ever thought about being like, hey, or going to the, is it patented?
So yeah, so the best I understand when
You all thought like,
Yeah. So when Kate the Great ended, the brewer and the brewery parted ways, and the way they agreed to the end was that one would hold rights over the name, one would hold rights over the recipe, so that way neither could coexist together,
wow.
sort of thing. And it was, from what I understood, an amicable parting, and that was how they kept it further amicable, was that nobody owned the singular rights to the product. It was one owned the name, one owned the recipe, and that was that.
That's just what to say, like, as if that was your thing, and there's a brewery and they no longer do it.
Make Kate the Great.
Yeah,
It seems like that's an idea that already happened.
So if you went to a brewery,
Yep.
some random brewery, and obviously a different name, would you know right off the bat, like from the smell before you even sip it, this is it?
If that existed?
Yeah.
So, another side story there. The brewer from Portsmouth Brew Pub opened his own brewery again up in Maine. He, if I remember correctly, owned the recipe side of it.
Oh, nice.
He took the beer and rather than brewing it in port barrels as it was traditional, or aging it in port barrels, he aged it in apple brandy barrels. So it does still exist, slightly different.
Yeah.
Rather than being aged in a tawny port, it's aged in an apple brandy
Yeah.
barrel.
That's actually what I was just about to ask.
Cool.
Like, I was going to do that's pretty much the same thing. Like, would you ever think, like, you're making an homage?
Oh, I would.
Or they call it the greatest Kate.
I think,
And, like,
well,
actually like, specify,
Quick
like,
way to get
this is an
yourself
homage.
sued.
yeah, good way to get yourself sued. I think,
But, like, it's like off-center enough.
it might be. It's hard because
But they
trademark law
like,
is.
it's an homage to my old favorite beer.
You might be able to do that. I guess it depends on what the atmosphere is like, because that's the other thing.
as well.
Yeah, you don't want to get anybody upset.
Yeah,
like,
you
that's the
talk to
big.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to ruffle any feathers. It's a small community, and getting yourself in trouble. Gets
You
around
take
quick.
somebody else's.
Oh
beer,
yeah.
Then everybody's coming down.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole yeah.
The next thing you know, you're
everything.
thinking
You're
beer
now-
advocate, and everybody's chewing you out over nothing.
Oh, God forbid.
This sounds like a series already, like a TV series, like
Oh yeah.
rival breweries.
Even the new Discovery Channel breakout.
Seriously.
Yeah.
They probably would though.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. VH1 send you against each other.
Yeah.
Brew wars or something like that. I don't know.
Brew Wars.
Possible.
That would cut out because we're gonna.
All right, just for the sake of us not getting hammered right now, not that I wouldn't mind that, but
Yeah.
Also, we're at about an hour and 15 of runtime right now. We'll wrap it up. Any closing remarks from you guys you might want to plug in there?
Yeah. Where can we find you guys?
So,
Literally and virtually.
virtually wise, we are on Instagram. We're going to have Facebook soon for our actual Tessie Brewing Facebook page. We're just starting up our Twitter, and you can find us on Untapped if you've had your beers, any of the beers. And then soon we're actually going to designate about an hour and a half on Saturdays for people to try via invitation.
An hour and a half on Saturdays via invitation. That can be like a raffle.
It's going to be a limited amount, so it's somehow we're going to set up something for that.
We get
Still
links in the show notes.
Oh, everything's gonna go below. Yeah, everything's gonna go in the.
So verbally and obviously,
Any place we can find you guys online, and locally, we're gonna put it below. So awesome.
That's not really good. Not have to be like one of the people that bring it, but like, just be there because I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like,
We're
Not to take 3 of the slots, but just like to be there.
well, we'll just space it out.
because I'm not going to give up. It's going to be my house, so I'm not going to.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
yeah.
And I'm not giving up.
No. Oh, no.
It's
It's
literally during kidnap time that I'm doing this.
all about. Yeah.
No, I'm
it's
just
all
saying, like your car's my.
Trust me, uninvited people don't want to come to my house.
about- Sounds like Tessie probably wouldn't be a fan of that.
Oh no, Tessie will be a fan of it. She'll love it.
Yeah.
Tessie would be so
It's
excited.
more people.
Oh, she's a people dog. She's
She's a
a
people
dog.
dog. Oh, yeah, she's a people dog. It's just uninvited people might get met with angry force.
Yeah. Ooh, there we go. There we
See
go.
your face on camera.
All right, one more thing before we end with our signature tagline. So we here at this YouTube channel, we have this 1,000 subscriber challenge coming up. As far as when we finally hit that 1,000 mark, we'll pick a couple people. How many is it? Five people, where basically those winners that will be chosen at random will get 5 personal training sessions, whether it's virtually speaking through like Zoom or whatever, depending on where you're located or if you're not comfortable coming in
One of
the
us
gym.
of choice.
Yeah, exactly. So you have options. 3 months worth of programming depending on your goals. Just tie that in together because after those 5 sessions, like you want to keep up with it a little bit. And also a shirt, our Strength with Purpose shirt that one of us is not wearing at the moment. But,
Yeah.
we can throw that logo in there in the video so you guys can see it. And so those 3 things right there, pretty solid prize if you ask me. So.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, exactly. So just to wrap it all up, DeMarco, take it away with our tagline.
Hey guys, well let me hang on. Let's pour ourselves just a little bit really quick. So what we do really quick, we're gonna cheers and we're gonna say
They're gonna tagline is eat, drink, love.
Yes. And hopefully with these guys, it's local to us soon enough. But we'll see.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome guys. Well, oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry for being that. Awesome guys. Well, just remember that it's very important to eat, drink local.
Couldn't get more local than this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, seriously.
Cheers, gentlemen.